It's a great pleasure for me to talk about men are from Mars, women are from Venus. There are so many unnecessary losses of people who truly love each other and they can't make their relationship work. And they figure, we're just too different. And when somebody comes along and explains, you're supposed to be too different, then what happens is hope occurs. And when you have hope that maybe you can have a successful relationship, maybe you can get your needs met, even though you're so different, when hope arises, our hearts open and we begin to feel love again. And it is love that saves those relationships. It is love that gives meaning to our lives. You can have all the success in the world, but if you don't have love, friendly, loving, compassionate, supporting relationships, you cannot enjoy your success. The real issue in relationships is how we communicate. Men typically communicate the way men do. And it happens to be a totally different language than women communicate. Women communicate in a totally different way. The problem is we use the same words, but they have different meanings. I say to my wife, honey, what's the matter? And she says, nothing. I assume that's what she means. So I go, okay, I'll watch TV. And she goes, he doesn't even care. You see, when a woman says nothing's the matter, what she means in her language is something's the matter. And if you care, you'll ask me more questions. And so when he doesn't ask more questions, she thinks he doesn't care. When you ask a man what's wrong, he says nothing. He means nothing's wrong. And then women go, okay, it's my job now to ask him a lot of questions. He gets so annoyed. Why is she asking me all these questions? Women love to communicate. And if they don't love to communicate, and some women don't, it's because they tried communicating and the way in which he communicated back didn't work for her. So she goes, I can't talk to him. He doesn't listen. He doesn't understand. Why bother? I remember one woman saying to me, I don't relate to this Mars-Venus stuff because I don't ever want to talk to my husband. I don't talk about problems like you say women do. I go, really? Well, think about that. Do you talk to some people? Well, yeah, I'm always talking to other people about my problem with my husband. So why does she talk to him? Because he doesn't listen. And what I want couples to know is that communication is what keeps the passion alive in a relationship. The problem is that even if you don't have good communication skills, in the first 3 years of a relationship, there will be passion. There will be attraction. But if you don't have good communication skills, if you don't develop them in that time, the passion will go away. Literally, it's like God gives us free hormones for 3 years. The hormones of passion and attraction. And without those hormones, the relationship starts settling down, the passion goes away, the interest goes away. You start finding when you're less interested in your partner that you put less into the relationship. And I'm speaking more a bit about men here. Men tend to lose interest in the relationship. Women tend to have more interest in complaining about the relationship. It's amazing, women. You have to watch. Your greatest skill can become your greatest problem. Women see everything. When they fall in love with a man, they see him and they see all of his potential. So they're so happy. 3 years passes, reality sets in. And suddenly, she doesn't have the same response to him because in the beginning when she was in love, she really didn't know who he was. She saw all this great potential. Then after he's been late 30 times, she goes, there's nothing going to change this guy. And so her feelings start becoming less and less. But potential's a great thing. It's what gives us hope. And women will often see a man's potential, fall in love with that potential, but then they'll try to pull that potential out of him and have the opposite effect. One of the chapters in Men Are From Mars is describing women is called the Home Improvement Committee. When a woman loves a man, this gene inside of women, and men don't have it, it's called the improvement gene. No matter how good something is, it can always be improved, right? Well, women have that gene, men don't. A man's gene says, the Martian gene is if something works, don't mess with it. From a woman's point of view, if something works, let's see how much better we can make it work. So it's like, let's improve it. Let's change it. So a woman falls in love with a man. She goes, okay, now how are we going to change him? Men and women are so different when we get married. A woman's thinking, okay, now we're married. Now things are going to change. Now my love will bring out the best of him. Now I can improve him. Men get married, they think just the opposite. They go, dear God, please don't change anything. See, we don't want you to change at all. We want you to stay the same. Women want us to change. The truth is, women, you have a huge power to change a man. Women bring out the best in men, but they're not trained how to not get in their way. The way women try to improve men tends to cause men to not change. So you put that little gene, okay, now I'm going to improve him, and you focus it on him, and you form the home improvement committee, and he's the target. And anytime you give a man unsolicited advice, anytime you tell a man to do something or suggest something better that he could do, he'll go the other direction. You just have to know that about men. How many men can relate to that a little bit? You know that? And remember, only half the men are raising their hand. The other's like, I'm afraid to talk about it. We'll have another conversation. Women, we'll have more conversation about that. But how many women feel that irresistible urge to try to improve your partner? Raise your hands. Be proud of it. You're women. That's what you do. And if you're not even aware of it, become aware of it. Because it's one of the biggest sabotaging things you can do in a relationship. Your husband's tie's not right. Let somebody else point it out to him. Unless he says to you, do you think my tie looks good? He's eating a meal and he's ordering a dessert. And you look at him like you're his mother. You know what the doctor said? You shouldn't be eating that. How can he have passion for you that night? How can he feel connected to you? Suddenly you're treating him like a child. And some women say, but he behaves like a child. I say, if you treat him like a child, he'll behave like a child. But women tend to give unsolicited advice. How can I help him? Let me suggest this. Let me suggest this. Let me suggest this. And what you unknowingly do is push away the man you love the most in life. Now, what men do is just almost the same, but with a different twist, almost an opposite twist. Men want to give advice to women, not about so much what you should do, or some of us will do that, but generally what we want to give women advice about is how you should feel. And women, you know how much you hate that. You're upset. He says, oh, you shouldn't be upset. How many women can relate to men doing that to you? Raise your hands. Now, how many, 2 hands if you hate it? Raise your hands. Men don't understand how sensitive women are about this issue. If I'm talking to another guy and he's upset about something, I can easily say, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. It's tomorrow. They go, okay, well, have a drink and watch TV. It's no like big issue. Try saying that to your wife. She won't be your wife for long. She's upset about you, say something, you say, honey, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You're making a big deal of it. Just forget it. We'll deal with it tomorrow. And she's going to feel so hurt by that. She feels so angry about that. You're trying to tell her she shouldn't be upset. And when you do that, men, what you should know is the more you try to tell a woman how she should feel, the longer she's going to feel that way that you're trying to change. So don't feel that way. She's going to feel that way. If she's in a bad mood and you tell her she shouldn't be in a bad mood, she's going to stay in a bad mood until you're in a bad mood. Men's feelings are always sensitive about, was he successful in making you happy? Was he successful in making you happy? So I could have a terrible trip. I could have an awful business week. I could be down and out. I could be, on a deadline and I'm exhausted and tired. My wife can completely uplift me, which is, I want to just give this one point, because just give women a sense of how you can support a man. You could go, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. You look so sad and tired. That does nothing for a man. But what she did, and I pointed out to her because it worked so well, she looked at me and she says, wow, I'm so glad I don't have your job. Well, yep, I'm the guy. I'm the guy. I'm the guy. Now, you see, a woman would never think to say that unless she understood Mars and Venus. Because imagine I came home from a trip, my wife was all soaking her fingers in salt water and she was all tired and exhausted and overwhelmed with life and so forth, and I just had a great trip, and I come home, I say, wow, honey, you look really tired and overwhelmed. I sure am glad I don't have your job. I'm in the doghouse. You see how the same phrase has the opposite effect. My wife knows if I come home tired, exhausted, she doesn't like dwell on that. She just says, well, I had a great time. You can't believe what happened for me. I went out, I bought this dress. Look at this dress. She like shows me the dress. And I notice my mood is changing. Because I may have failed that week, but I bought that dress. I put that smile on her face. See, whenever a woman's happy, it brings a man up. When a man's happy, it does little for a woman. Because see, her world of being is not based upon taking credit for his happiness. That's not what makes her feel good. She doesn't go bragging, I made my husband happy, made my husband happy, made my husband happy. You know what women brag about? He made me happy. That's what women talk about. Oh, he did this for me. Oh, he did this for me. He noticed I got my hair cut. By the way, I failed on that one this week, but I'll usually win that point. One of Bonnie's girlfriends, we'd go for a walk on Sunday with another couple, and the couple we came in, and the woman said to Bonnie right away, she goes, oh, you got your hair cut, sister, you look great. I went, oh yeah, honey, your hair looks great. She goes, nah, too late for you. It's a whole thing about women, you know. It's not always about content, men. It's feeling, it's attention, it's being noticing things. Noticing things makes women really happy. And it took a long time for me to figure out. I'm still not A+ at it, but I'll get my A+ from time to time. But she'll say to me on like Monday, she'll say, I'm going to get my hair cut on Thursday. And I used to wonder for the longest time, why does she tell me? Who cares? I mean, I don't go around saying to my friends, hey, I'm going to get my hair cut this Thursday. I mean, just don't do that. So it took a long time. These things would hit me. I go, why is she telling me this? You know, I go, oh, good to know. Yeah. But then I was realizing the reason she's telling me is so that on Thursday I'm prepared to notice she got her hair cut. Because it makes a world of difference. If she comes home and says, what do you think of my haircut? It means nothing to her. I say, oh, looks good. You look great. That means nothing. No points, nothing. But if she comes home and you go, oh, you got your haircut, you just score 1,000 points right there. It's like a world of difference, men, if you do something without her having to ask. And men don't understand that. You know, if I want to get somebody to compliment my hair, they can say, oh, your hair looks great. I go, do you think my hair looks good? They go, yeah, it looks great. Okay, fine. But we men, we have certain areas, certain zones where we can relate to this. Not as much as for women. But we have certain places, and I want to give you an example of that. Imagine you're doing some kind of performance, whatever it might be. You're doing something on stage or on a track or wherever. You're running your marathon or whatever. Anything. You're doing something. And when you complete it, the audience spontaneously stands up and applauds you. Does that feel great or what? As opposed to somebody coming out and saying, and now let's thank John for a great talk. It's a world of difference. Spontaneity, when somebody spontaneously does something, it means so much more. So here is a husband and wife. Man loves the wife. But see, the problem is we men have this gene. It's this Martian gene. Men are from Mars. And this gene says, never do anything you don't have to do. That's the efficiency gene. See, it's what everything's about for men. Efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. It's not that women aren't efficient. They can be or they cannot be. It's their choice. Men's genes tell them it's the imperative. Never do anything you don't have to do. Now, we call it efficiency on Mars. On Venus, they call it lazy. And they often misinterpret it as uncaring. But it's not either of those two things. It's the way men are designed. Is that we want to get from point A to point B in the shortest possible route. That's it. For women, they can go one day short, another day long, another day let's wander over here. Let's go over here. That's interesting, new and different. Why not try that? To them, it's not always about the efficient mode. Their lives, their whole perspective is different. And so what happens with men is we do the efficient thing. We want to know the right way to do something. And so one of the big complaints women often have about men is he always has to be right. Well, he does. Because that's the most efficient thing. It's his gene that says, do what you have to do. Whereas women over there going, why isn't he doing things for me? This is the man that will give his life for her if it's necessary. And he could save his life. There's a few qualifications in there. But there's not a man in this world who loves his partner that wouldn't give his life for her if it would save her life. Now, he wouldn't give his life if it was a waste. Some would, but generally speaking, it's if I can help her, I would do it. If it was required, I would do it. So here's this man who only does what he has to do. So in the beginning, when he's dating you, he knows, I have to communicate to you that you're special, that you're important, that I love you, that I think you're beautiful, that you're interesting to me, that I want to have a relationship with you, that you're the number one person I want to have a relationship, that I have special feelings for you that I don't have for anybody else. So in the beginning of a relationship, he knows he has to communicate that. So he does. Statistically, men talk more on the third date than any other time in the relationship. That's about the time when he's sizing up the situation, and he's letting you know some of his feelings and where he wants to go with this thing. It's almost like I introduce myself to you. Hi, I'm John Gray. I've communicated that. Now, let's say we're in a relationship. Do I remind you every time I see you? Hi, it's me, John Gray. No, I don't have to, because you should know. I've told you that. Well, that's the way men think about dating. I did all that dating stuff. You should know I like you. Why do I have to do it anymore? See, this is the Martian mentality. Men don't know if you want a happy woman, you have to do the dating stuff. There never comes a day when you don't have to do it if you want this to be a happy woman. If you want to be the one who can take credit for some of that happiness, you have to do the little stuff. See, that's what dating is. Dating is the little stuff. Like, I know, oh, you look great tonight. Oh, I like those earrings. Oh, I love your hair this way. It's changed. It's different. See, that's the little stuff. See, it all comes down to scoring points. And women score points differently from men. Men, we know how we score points. Men are very conscious of scoring points, by the way. Women are not so conscious of it, but they do it all the time in relationships. Men score points in life all the time. It's like, by the car you drive is how many points you've scored. See, men are looking at their income, their job position, and all those things. So if you work for a company, if you make the company a lot of money, you get a big reward, right? That's a lot of points. If you work for a company, you do a job that makes a little money, you get a little points. That's the way your men are always thinking. Do big things, get more points. Do little things, get little points. If you sit on the bench, you're a good supporter on the team, but you don't get the glory. You run the touchdown, you get the glory. So men are going, I want to run the touchdown. Big stuff gets big points. That's the way men think. So they assume women think that way. Women don't think that way. They can relate to that. They can relate to everything I say about Mars. But they have got other genes. They got other hormones. Their brains are different. It's a whole different world that women live in. The big stuff is not more important than the little stuff. It's still important, but it's not more important than the little stuff. And if you take away the little stuff, you're losing points every day. And let me explain how that works. It's the Venusian scoring system. On Venus, and I heard this as a little boy. I didn't buy it. My mother said, now remember, it's not the present that counts. It's the thought that counts. The thought that counts. The thought's nothing. I want the actual thing. But on Venus, the thought is just as important as the present. The wrapping is just as important as the present. The card is more important than the present. If I just go get the present, I buy an expensive present for my children. I have 3 daughters, wife, female dog, female rabbit, the whole kabang. Venus surrounds me. I bring them a present. I figure I'm getting a great expensive present. That ought to be enough. No. It's the wrapping that they get all excited about. It's the card. Where's the card? Where's the ribbon? Where's the fluff on the ribbon? You got to make the ribbons go like this. All those details. The big talk of town at holiday time at my house is, I wrapped the presents. He wrapped the present. You wrapped the present? He wrapped the present. Who wrapped this present? I wrapped the present. It's like nobody's talking about what I bought for them. So what happens is that men give a lot of points for something big and little points for something little. Women give Equal points for every act of love. Big act of love, 1 point. Little act of love, 1 point. Now think about this, guys. This makes good mathematical sense. You can use this to your advantage. That little gene, never do what you don't have to do, can really be happy here. You don't have to do big stuff to make women happy. You can be the conqueror. You can be the king. You can be the hero of the day by doing little stuff. Little stuff does not take a lot of time, energy, or money. Let's talk about flowers. The Martian spirit, what is the big deal with flowers? You bring her flowers in the beginning because you know that's what you have to do to communicate she's special. And then men figure, okay, I did that. Why do it again? So you're married. I made all the mistakes for you guys. I went through the whole transition here so you can get the learning curve accelerated right now. So I figured my wife likes these roses so much, so why don't I buy her a potted plant of roses? Honey, I bought you this potted plant of roses because you like so many roses. She goes, well, that's sweet, honey, but that's not romantic. That doesn't count. I go, what do you mean it doesn't count? See, women don't just want a pot of roses. They want cut roses. Cut roses will die in a week, and then you have to go get them again. Women want to be attended to. They want you to continue thinking about them. They want you to continue doing the little things you used to do. And then men come in, I thought, okay, I'm going to get these silk flowers. Nothing, nada, nothing. See, men just want to be able to do it and say, I did it, now I never have to do it again. And that means you're going to lose forever. What you want to do is find these little things. They're cheap. It's not that expensive to do little things to make her happy. Guy goes, roses are expensive. Yeah, if you get a dozen roses or 24 roses, but guess what? You can get her 24 roses. You know how many points you get? 1. So now let's do the math. Get her 1 rose 24 times over a 6-month period. You get 24 points for the same money. It's the little stuff that counts. Now you have to do the big stuff too. There's really 3 big things you do. And you have to do them every day. That is, you got to go to work. That means you got to do your best as a man to do your best to provide for your wife. She could be a multimillionaire, doesn't need money, but if you don't go out and work and toil for her, she'll lose her attraction for you. So money's not the issue, is that it's who you are for her. She needs to feel that if I couldn't work, if I lost all my money, that I have a capable man who's there to support me, provide for me. Now, I know we live in a world where women are providing just as much as men. Reality. Hormonally, she needs to feel if I didn't work, I have the choice. If something happened, he is capable and willing to do those things for me. So 1, you go to work every day, except for your day off. Okay, you go to work. 2, you come home from work. You don't come home, you're going to lose. If you don't come home, you can call. So if you call, you're okay. So I learn I travel. My travel schedule, sometimes a lot, sometimes less. But when I'm away, I arrive at my hotel. What do I do to get my points? I call. To me, if I didn't understand, I said, why call? I went through this whole thing in the first year of my marriage. It's like she wanted me to call. The more she wanted me to call, I felt like I had to call. Why do I have to call? It's like I'm calling to report to my mother that I'm okay. I was fine. So I started feeling like I didn't want to call. And then to complicate it even more, when I did call, she'd always say towards the end of the call, I love you. And then I'd have to feel like, oh, now I'm supposed to say, I love you. Now, of course, I love her, but I didn't feel like saying I love her. So then I felt like I was faking it to say I love you. But I'd say it anyway because I'd get in trouble if I didn't. But because I was faking it when I said it, she could hear that I was faking it, so I got in trouble anyway. So I figured, why bother calling in the first place? I left on a good note, I'll come back on a good note. It's a very complicated thing. What's all this I love you thing about? Well, I love you is a feeling that starts on the right side of your brain. Talking is something that occurs on the left side of your brain. Thinking what you feel is something that occurs on the left side of your brain. Women, what you don't understand about men is we have billions less neuroconnectors between thinking and feeling. Men have a difficult time thinking a lot and knowing what they feel. to feel and think is a very difficult thing for men. We have to sort of go, okay, I feel, what was I feeling? Let me check out that feeling. Well, it's changed now. Let me come back over here. Then once we figure out what we're feeling, we have to stop feeling on the left side of our brain, go up to the other part of our brain, right up in the front part, and talk. So we have to like figure out what we think about what we feel, then we talk about it, and it doesn't have a lot of feeling by that point. She goes, I don't feel it. Well, I did feel it when I thought about it. Look over there. It's just, and when a man's really in his sort of work mode, that's the left side of the brain. So he's focusing left brain, left brain, left brain. It's very hard for him to access his feelings at that time. And women, you don't understand what it's like to be a man at all. You have the different total, it's interesting. Our brains are very similar. The locations of things in our brains are very similar. But there's some big differences. The first difference, which is sort of politically incorrect to point out, but I like to point it all out, is that men's brains are bigger than women's. Our brains start out bigger. But what they don't tell you usually is that they end up smaller. Men's brains start out bigger and end up smaller than women's. Now, I have now researched, after 25 years of teaching all this stuff, I've researched all the biochemical reasons for this. But one of the reasons for that brain shrinkage that men have that women don't have is that men's bodies do not produce vitamin C. And vitamin C increases circulation into the brain, creates healthy brain activity. Women's bodies do produce vitamin C. So their brains are staying greater circulation in their brain just from vitamin C. So if we're vitamin C deficient in our diet, which most people are, if you're a man, you're going to start shrinking your brain. I mean, it's just going to start going. Now, that's sort of a scientific explanation. My wife, she cuts to the chase. She says, yeah, that's one explanation, but I know the real explanation. Men's brains shrink because they don't use them. Use it or lose it. So you can look at it from many different perspectives. Another major difference between men and women's brains is the connective tissue between the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. What they found is that women tend to have way more connective tissue connecting all parts of the brain. Now, I picked up on that research, but I had already learned it anyway. I just had to be married. I knew our brains were different. I'll give you the example, and so many of you relate to it. Here I'm married, we got children. 2 little girls fighting with each other. Bonnie's settling the dispute, but she's also making dinner with a lasagna, and it's cooking in the oven and putting things together. She's got pots and pans going on here, settling disputes, breastfeeding another baby, all at the same time. I am on the other side of the kitchens here. I'm in the living room talking on the phone to somebody. Not only is she doing all of that, but she's listening to everything I say. Now, she has that ability. Women just gather information from their environment. And particularly if a man's talking, they really put up those little antennas. I am from Venus. What's he saying? But not only was she listening to what I was saying, she started telling me what to say to that person, which implied she knew what they were saying as well. And here I am on the phone talking to this person, and she's talking to me to tell him something, correcting what I was saying probably. And I say, excuse me, Bonnie, I can't listen to you and talk to this person at the same time. And she looks at me, my God, it's true. He is retarded. I mean, he's so successful in life. He does all this thing, but when you really get to know him, he's retarded. That's sort of that awakening, that sort of reality setting in when women start to realize who this guy is. And all of it also has so much to do with just the fact that we are different. And there's nothing wrong with those differences when we learn to work with them. But if we don't understand them, it really is frustrating, and we can easily take it the wrong way. We can easily feel hurt. And of course, once we feel hurt, then we hold back. And once we start holding back, that's when relationships start going downhill. We feel like, I'm not getting my due, so I'm going to stop giving. And we hold back. And the love goes away, and the magic of relationship can't occur without that love. And just as information changes relationships. Why? Because people realize when you're done with this talk, this short talk, you'll realize, oh my gosh, that's why that happened, that's why that happened, that's why that happened, that's why she reacts that way, that's why he reacts that way, that's why and how do I contribute to that? You suddenly feel the power again of realizing, how am I creating these problems in the relationship? Because it always looks like they're creating the problems. It would be so easy. From a man's point of view, men are easy. We're just like Fords. The old Ford engine, anybody could figure it out. Now you got all this complicated stuff. That's women. Women are complicated. Men know women are complicated. Women know women are complicated. But men are not complicated. We're very simple creatures. Feed us. And ask us what you want. Just tell me what you want. You see, why do women not tell us what they want? One is they're not taught to do it, and that's what part of my message is, teaching women how to ask, when to ask, the ways that work. But two is, why don't they ask? Because it feels so much better if they don't ask. Remember we went through that whole thing, if you just do it. And she tested you in the beginning. You were jumping through hoops in the beginning. She had all her little test figures out. She says, do I have to ask him? Do I have to ask him? Do I have to ask him? No, he's doing all these things automatically. What's he doing automatically? All the little things. Why is he doing those? Because he thinks I have to do them. But now that we're married, I don't have to do them. So he stops doing them. And now she's pissed off. She refuses. Why do I have to ask for it? I never had to ask for it before. So this point system, you get a point for going to work, a point for coming home or calling home, and you get a point for the gold. That's the golden point for being monogamous. Those are the 3 points that get you into the real scoring system. Once you do those 3 things, then you get a point for anything you do for her. Even thinking of doing something for her. I mean, you can get so many points in the first 20 minutes when you get home. First thing I do, and I come into the house, and I got babies and kids, and my children just so excited to have me come home. I could never figure it out. They just jumping up, so happy. It was just change, something new. So our dads arrived home. They're just elated to see me, and they're jumping up and down. They're coming, and they, of course, all this love and attention, I'm going to put my attention back to them, these little beings I adore. But I learned I was losing points big time. So I learned, children come to me. First thing, my kids are all like trained. When I come home, they say, Mom's here, Mom's over there, Mom's not home yet. Whatever it is, because they know my first question is going to be, where's Mom? Where's Bonnie? It's just going to be right there. And of course, she hears me doing that, making her number one. I get a point. Right there, finding her. See, men would never think of this stuff, whether you have kids or not. When you're before the kids stage, this is what happens to men. Once they have the relationship, these sort of childhood games come up, and they're natural games. They're playful games. Women play them, men play them, but the rules are different. That game is called hide and seek. See, if she happens to be home first and he's driving up, she hears him coming up. What does she do? She goes to a different part of the house. She's hiding. He arrives home. She wants to see, does he still find me? Is he still interested in seeking me out? Is he wanting to find me? Or does he even care whether I'm alive anymore? Now, there's a big problem that happens because when he gets home, he looks around, she goes, she's not here. Great. I can go hide. So he goes off to hide in his study, watches TV, which is hiding into there, do something on his own. And the difference is she's hiding, but she wants to be found. He's hiding, but he doesn't want to be found. He doesn't understand. Oh, she's hiding, leave her alone. I mean, this is one of the major things. One day I kind of sensed my wife was upset, so I just gave her space. I just ignored it. See, that's what I would want. If I'm in a bad mood, don't ask me, how you feeling? I'll tell you where it always goes. It happens for every man. Woman, she wants, oh, he's upset, he's bothered. Let me help him. Let me help him to talk. That's what we do on Venus. What's the matter? Nothing. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure it's nothing. Was it this? No, it wasn't that. I'm not bothered. Was it that? You were going to do this? Did that get done? No, I'm fine. I can sense you're getting angry. No, I'm not angry. Yes, you're getting angry at me. Are you angry with me? Is that what's causing it? I wasn't angry with you, but now I am angry with you. And he was just cooling off. How do men and women cope with stress differently? One of the biggest reasons for problems in relationships, not because we cope differently, but because we don't understand how we cope differently. That's the whole key, is we just don't understand what we're dealing with. And we don't understand it, we tend to misinterpret it. So how do men and women cope with stress differently? To sum it up very simply, men cope with stress by solving problems. If I'm stressed, okay, what can I do about it? Let me find something I can do and let me do something about it. The most depressing thing for a man is to think there's nothing I can do to solve this problem. That's why men are always trying to solve problems. And they feel best when they're solving problems. So let's say I'm at work and there's all these problems, but today there's problems you can't solve in one day. There's mortgages and bank loans and things that you have to do. I'm going to wait 6 months for. Maybe tomorrow you got a real estate deal. Is it going to happen? Is it not? So at the end of the day, there's nothing I can do to solve this problem. So what do men become experts at? How do you solve a problem that you can't solve? We've been doing it for time, since the beginning of time. We've got this gene that allows us to do it. If you can't solve a problem, no problem. Forget it. And Plato explained it. He said, because he's a very serious philosopher type, he said that life is a serious endeavor, but there's utility and seriousness in being frivolous. And so one has to have frivolous behaviors as well, because they put you on the right side of the brain. So if you go to the right side of the brain and you're a man, the left side of your brain goes to sleep, has a nice rest. If you're on the left side of your brain, it just gets worn out. But see, women can't leave the left side of the brain. They're always thinking, and they're always feeling, and they're always planning to talk or remembering to talk or whatever. The whole brain is functioning for women in a different way for a man. Now, we can feel sorry for women, we can feel sorry for men, or we can go, how can we support each other? First of all, let me explain what women do to cope with stress. She often wants to talk about it. She wants to talk about all the problems that happen today. Now, why would she ever want to do that? From a man's point of view, if there's problems and you can't do anything about it, forget it. And that, by the way, is another communication skill, men, you just have to practice, which is if a woman's talking about a problem, remember not to say these words. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Just forget it. Here's something that I tried once. After a stressful day for my wife, I said, honey, don't worry about it. Let's just have sex. Only once, didn't work. She'll talk about some problems, and he'll say, just quit that job. Find another job. It's your choice. Do something else. Does she feel like you're even interested in what she had to say? No. Does she feel like you really care about her? No. And the truth is, man, is she really asking for your advice at that time? I mean, men are actually, on a subconscious level, this is where we're coming from. We give, honey, just quit that job. What do you expect her to say? What a brilliant idea. I hadn't thought of it. I have a problem at the job. I could just quit it and find another job. Well, that's great. I feel so great. No wonder you make all the money. She's not going to say that. She's not asking for advice. What she's looking for is using her relationship as a way to cope with stress. See, a relationship, unfortunately, today causes more stress for couples. Some people want to stay at work because the relationship causes so much stress. But ideally, stress is in the workplace. We come home to heal our wounds, to recuperate. We've got love to do it, but we have different ways of doing it. Men need to go off to their cave, their Martian cave, sit, watch TV, read a magazine, sit on his lawnmower, whatever. Have some time alone. Women need to feel there's time where we're interacting. Like, I blew her mind the other day, because I noticed the night before, she says, oh, I got to get up really early to bring Zoe, our dog, is a little sick, got a tick bite, to have another blood test. She's going to get up earlier than me that day. So I made a point to be up, to give her a hug and ask her if there's anything I needed to do, or offer. Even better to ask is to offer, oh, I'll do this for you. And she said right away, part of the tick bite is the dog was urinating everywhere. And so she's like running around in the morning. She said, oh, Zoe already urinated on the carpet. I said, well, honey, let me do that. So if I said, would you like me to do that? What do women generally say? No, I'll do it. And a guy goes, okay, well, I offered. I got a point for offering. No, not in that case. So I said, no, honey, you're doing so much. I'll do it. Oh, I just got 2 points. I said the magic words. You're doing so much. Women love when you say that. Love it, men. Just try to get that into your brain. Men have a hard time even thinking that way. Because men go, what do you mean you're doing too much? It's your choice. Do what you want to do. I wish you'd do less. It's like learning how to create the message that you love her, even though you do love her, but how are you communicating that message? And for women, the same challenge is there for you, to communicate the message. The other day, I cleaned up all the kitchen when she came home from a trip. I was spotless, and then after I cleaned it up, I left the glass on the counter. She came in, saw this beautiful kitchen, and she goes, well, who left this glass on the counter? That was not a good big scoring point, women, okay? But fortunately, I understood. I know that that's her tendency. Women can see everything. And sometimes when they're in a good mood, they see the good in things. And sometimes when they're not in a good mood and they're stressed, they see all of the not good in things. So we have good communication. I said, oh yeah, I left that glass there. Hey, did you notice the rest of the kitchen? And she goes, oh yeah, oh, it looks gorgeous. Oh, you always do such a great job. It's fantastic. So she just was able to bounce back. And that's the most important thing about mature adults, is when your partner does make a mistake, give them a chance to do it the right way next time. Just let them off the hook. Let them off the hook. The important thing in life, and what I focus on now in my work, is not just communication skills, because I realize as well we have to do a little exercise every day. We have to make sure that we get nutritional supplements in our diet. We're not getting enough minerals in the food that we eat. And if we don't exercise a little bit, it makes a difference. So I'm going to teach you one of 36 exercises I teach right now, which is probably none of you have ever done. But I'd like you to stand up. Now, this is done in every culture historically in the world. Africa, Asia, Australia, South America, and it's simply a movement like this. Just simply bounce. Don't have to have your trampoline. Trampolines are fun if your knees are bad. But basically, all you have to do this. And we're going to do this for just a couple of minutes, and we're going to breathe a little deeper. Breathe a little deeper than usual. Breathe in again. Now, this is the African version. Now we're going to go to the Chinese version. Chop. Chop, chop, chop. It's really true. If you go to their, the Chinese are really into herbal medicines. But before they'll give you herbal, you'll have to do this for 20, 30 minutes. Because the herbs aren't going to get anywhere. They're not going to get to your brain unless you've got circulation. You just want to keep this whole thing pumping. You can chop real far. You can kind of pat if you like. Another cultural just kind of patting around. Whatever you feel like, just get that body moving. And this gets a little boring. Then you bring your hands up to chopping carrots. Bend your knees a little bit more. Feel more grounded to the earth as you do this. And what we're doing is we're stimulating what's called the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system starts cleansing the cells. And when the cells start to be cleansed, the liver doesn't have to do it. And the liver starts producing enzymes. So you're going to feel it in just a few minutes. You're going to feel all this tingling and aliveness. Okay, now we're going to be like the guys at the airport directing those planes in. Got your flashlights. And we're almost to the last one, which is my favorite. We'll get to it. What this does, it brings energy, circulation to all parts of your body. Did you know the occupation of men that lives longest of any? Conductors. Why? They put their hands over their shoulders all the time. This, just putting your hands above your shoulders and moving them increases circulation to the brain. Better than vitamin C even. A little vitamin C in, this will work really great. Then, my favorite is the rock concert. I go to the rock concerts, and of course all the kids are doing this. I can outdo them all. 52 years old, and they're all worn out. I'm going all evening. Because when you do this and you're in shape, you're burning fat. And when you burn fat, you never get tired. So you can't get tired. If you do exercise and you're tired afterwards, that means you were burning sugar. But when your body's burning fat, you never get tired, and you don't get upset at your partner. You're so forgiving and loving and happy. So do these exercises every day. It just takes 5 minutes with your partner. Now, feel your body. That's right. Say, wow. Isn't that amazing? That's aliveness. Very simple. That's fat burning. That's your liver producing enzymes. That's making your brain feel really good. So have a seat for a moment. Every morning, I know how important it is to do a little exercise to get that blood into my brain to produce the chemicals. If I don't have those chemicals in my brain, I can't be as caring, considerate, compassionate, energetic, smart, and creative as I could be otherwise. It's just fact. It's reality, particularly over 40 years old. You've got to get that circulation going. You've got to have some good nutrients in the morning. Make sure you get some good protein in the morning, some good omega-3 in the morning, some mineral supplements in the morning. And throughout the day, you score your points with your partner. If you don't have a partner, you score points with somebody. You be a friend to somebody. You don't have friends, be a good friend, and you'll have as many as you want. You need to be interacting in a place where you're giving of yourself and you're getting acknowledgement back. But I know the fundamental basis of it all is my feeling good about myself and feeling good about my life and what I do. And when I wake up some mornings, I don't. And I just sit there and I stand and I do this. And I do some other exercises to get the circulation going and get the nutrients in my body, and I'm back. And I motivate myself, and I say to myself, John, what are you here for in this world? You love your children. You love your wife. You love the world. You love the people that you help. If you do this, you will be better at doing that. And I know that as a fact. And just imagine if you really believed it to be a fact, that I will perform better, give more, be a better person if I did a little of this. If you believed it to really be true, wouldn't you do it every day? So really what happens is when our brain's not thinking clearly, we forget what's true. So I just want to affirm right now, do you believe that a little exercise, you just did it, a little more effort and energy in your relationships to give would stimulate health and happiness? If you really believed it worked, would you do it every day? Just a little bit of time. Nobody would say no. Of course we would do it. That's what you want to remind yourself for every morning when you wake up, that little reminder. Because truly, when you are being of service, and we're in a world of chaos right now, we often feel helpless and hopeless. What can we do? I know that what I can do is what I can do. And if I'm more loving and more giving and generous to the people in my life, I'm doing my step to help all of mankind step a little closer to the world that we want to create, a world of love and fairness and peace. Thank you all so much. You've been an incredible audience.